Alright, everything is tightened down to 90 foot-pounds. Just my engine stand twisted a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove each one of these buckets. And then I'm going to spill oil on my finger. Here, if I set that down, that'll help. And I'm going to just take a little bit of oil on my finger. Make sure I lube up the outside of this, because these sit on top of the valve springs and bounce up and down, and you don't want them getting bound up because they're dry. You can see there's actually, I don't know if I can get that in focus or not, but there's actually wear, and you know, that might not be a bad idea to replace these. Each one of them has a number written on the inside. This says 495, and that's the thickness of this little dot in the middle. I mean, that's not the thickness, but that's Subaru's designation for that thickness. So that one's a 495, and this one's a 485. So if I got those two mixed up, this valve wouldn't be as in tolerance. These two valves would be out of tolerance. So it's real important that your head builder at least understand that those need to go back in the same place. And when you put new heads together, or if you swap valves out, you may end up getting new buckets, or you may end up grinding the base of the valve stem down to meet the bucket parameters. It just depends who's putting your heads together and their preferences. Next, it's time to install your cams, and this one has a little bit of scoring on it, but I'm going to send it. I'm not too worried about this motor, honestly. So we're going to clean it best we can. This one goes on top, so we're going to take our oil again. We're going to oil up this passage right here. And go ahead and do the bottom. See, on this one I got some crap in it. It's probably oil, but you know, if you got some of that the lubricant from the head studs in there, you definitely want to make sure. Okay, actually, while I'm thinking about it, you also need to lubricate this front one. Make sure there's no debris in there. When you feel it, it should feel smooth on your fingers. And when we're cleaning this, we're not really all that concerned about oil. We're more just concerned about dirt. Again, these came from the head shop, and they were in a bag before I got them, so I'm not really all that concerned about dirt. I've already done that bit, haven't I? It's also a good idea to go ahead and put some oil on the lobes of your cams. Lobes as well. Next, we're going to put in our caps, our cam caps. There's an intake and an exhaust side. as well as a direction. I don't know if you can see the arrow on that or not. If it might help if I I don't know. But this one, that's upside down. Actually, it's not. The arrow is pointing this way. It says 4E, so we know it's going to be our exhaust cam. Here's our exhaust outlet. This is our exhaust cam, and the arrow is facing this way, so it's going to be pointing like this. So we're going to go ahead and oil this as well. Oil all the things. And then just hand tighten that down for now. We'll come back and we will torque all of these bolts to the right spec they're supposed to be at, but I like to do it all at once. And then we have this other one. It's our intake cap. It'll see a 4I. Gosh, I just can't quite get this to look good, but 4I on here. Really? Like it's like 5 in the morning, somebody's walking their dog down the street. I guess it's not that early. It's getting light out. Roll our cam and follow our arrow. The arrow's at the top, so that should help you also. What am I doing? This goes right here. That gun dog's distracting me. So next is this piece, which sits just like this, but there's certain places that you have to put RTV on it. So I'm gonna show you where to put RTV so we can then put this on. Okay, so here's the back side of that, the front cam cap. You can see there's still some gasket material on here. And you just want to make sure you get all that off first. So I'm going to clean this off. And I wouldn't suggest using a razor blade to do this, simply because if you nick one of these things, all of a sudden you have a gash and it could leak. But you just want to get all the gasket material off you can. Okay, so we've got this all cleaned up. And now we're going to RTV around this bit. And then these skinny little walls, we're going to RTV very small amount. Don't want crap load in there either, because it'll squish out and fill up that galley. You don't want that. You just honestly barely want anything on there. I'm just trying to at least show you where you need to apply it. Barely any here. Okay. I'm going to go back. I'll try to do this without knocking my camera off the edge of the table here. And if you goop up, get a lot in a spot, go ahead and fish it out. I mean, it's not, take your time. You'd rather do that than have a clogged oil galley later, I promise. You definitely don't want that, and even I would probably run a skinny piece of tissue through it just to kind of make sure after you've pushed it down it gets stringy. That way you can get anything that might have fallen in there, as well as clean up the edges. This bottom one I'm not too happy with, honestly, but I think it'll work. And on the little bits, I push it pretty hard harder than I do the rest of the places. And so I think this guy's ready to go on. Okay, so we have all that ready. Next thing you're going to want to do is clean these surfaces, especially if you got oil on there or dirt, grime, whatever. Just go ahead and make sure that these are all clean. At least, you don't have to clean the whole thing yet, because we're also going to have to do these half moons that sit at the back here. So you're going to want to pull this out before you put the cam in completely and start tightening things down. But go ahead and clean up these surfaces. Okay. Now there is two dowels. There should be. There's a dowel here and a dowel there that will fit into their respective holes. And being very careful not to get RTV all over the place. Lower that in. And now we're to the point where we need to torque everything down. So you're going to grab your torque wrench again. And just confirm these four are 14 foot-pounds. The darker bronze colored bolts, and then it says these are 7, which seems crazy to me. They are prone to breaking, so you know, if you feel like going to 8, 9, you're probably fine, but officially I'm telling you 7 so you don't break them. Okay, there we go. I like that better. Just use your gut. You know, sometimes it's easy to flip your torque wrench over and you're suddenly looking at, you're just like, oh, 7 foot-pounds, I just have to zero it out and go to the bottom and spin it up to 7. But you're looking at the wrong side and then suddenly you're at 14. That's not where you need to be, is it? Okay, this should be the last one. These back ones. Okay, I'm going to adjust this up to our 14 and only do these 8. Don't do these. These don't exist anymore. We're good on those. Now the next thing I would suggest doing is cleaning these off, these half moons areas. Not every car will have them. If you have an 08 to 14 WRX with the D25 heads, they're a little bit higher compression head, but they also don't have these, so you don't have to worry about doing them. There may be newer other heads that don't have them either. But just make sure you get in there with, you know, some kind of screwdriver or something. Don't mar it up, but you definitely want to scratch the stuff that's in there out. And for this, I'm actually going to use a different type of RTV. It's not as quite, it's supposed to be more flexible. And since these are plastic going into aluminum, I think that's probably a better idea. And if you don't have any, don't worry about it specifically. Sometimes you just kind of wonder if that stuff helps or if it even matters. Okay, so we have these all cleaned up, and the probably want to take a cloth and get some brake clean on it as well, or parts cleaner, or whatever you have. You just want the RTV to adhere to it. It's not just a huge deal, but you just want all the RTV bits out. Honestly, that's the main point. There's plenty of surface area there, and it's got a good channel in it, so don't stress too much about getting every square micrometer of it clean. And then just there's a groove in there, and you just basically lay your RTV on that like so. And you kind of want, you don't just want a ton of it, but, and then push it into that groove so that it's level. You don't want it, it'll rock back and forth, so you don't want that to happen. That's another reason it's good to have your block flat. In fact, as soon as I put this other one in, I'm probably going to call it a night or a day or whatever, and because I'm running out of room to store all my videos, so I gotta unload them anyways. And I'll put the rocker cover and all that on probably in the next video. That's okay. Got that in. Push it flush. See, it's gonna want to settle. So just kind of feel it with your fingers. Make sure make sure it's not kicked up on one end. And then I'm gonna, just to be safe. Safety is our #1 priority. And the other one thing I do want to put out is there's these there's all these little plugs in your motor, and I just want to tell you all, make sure that the head shop has put all those back in. See, I've got a missing one there, but that's okay. That's our AVCS line that goes to here, so that's not a worry. But all these little hex plugs, I've seen people take them out and then they don't get put back in. And then also, if you're doing the Dom cooling mod, the Dominic cooling mod, that's where you're going to end up tapping into it. There's a little 90-degree fitting, and it comes up and it tees into your heater hoses that sit about right here, something like that. Tees that way. Anyways, so you can take that plug out once you get the head secure, if it's not already out. So there's our head gasket on our motor, our head on our motor, and looking good. Now we just got to do the other side. So hope you all enjoyed. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm going to do the rocker cover on this side next. I just like to get one whole side done first, rather than bouncing back and forth. That way my other head can stay safe while I'm messing with this. And then then the other thing is don't take a whole lot of time with this, because your cams will rust if they're not coated in oil, and they should, kind of rotate fairly smoothly. Rotate them a little bit, make sure there's no hang-ups, and then I would put oil on them just to kind of, I guess, keep it from rusting, especially if it's like, hey, you're going to assemble this and then 4 months later you're actually going to start it up. Now be realistic about that. That happens a lot. And So don't be hard on yourself if that's the case. Just, you know, plan accordingly. Anyways, y'all have a good day, and come back and see us. Leave a comment, subscribe, whatever. If you have any questions, I'm usually on there answering if I can, if I have the answer, or at least giving you the right information to go find the answer if you need it. So, y'all have a good day. Keep Subiing.